Glenn and John, I would like to get your take on the prosecution of Donald Trump by the city of New York for fraud. This seems to be as clear an example of election interference as anything I can imagine. What's your take on this, John?
Not one with a whole lot of expertise, but it's certainly not out of the question that there's a bias against Trump in terms of these cases that are being brought. And in terms of the bias, as far as I'm concerned, I consider him to be an evil force, and I can't help but see that bias being applied to him. But if you're coming from outside of my way of looking at it, yeah, I would say that case, and also the one about the porn star. One could say that there is a certain selectivity, that people are looking for something to get him on. But honestly, I'd like to see him get it, really. And so I can only elicit so much indignation. He's a unique problem, a unique evil problem.
Yeah, you and I don't agree about this. I think we've covered this ground before. I think it does damage. I agree with you that there's a selectivity in the prosecution. I'm not an expert either on financial law in the state of New York, but Letitia James, the state attorney general, is bringing this case. And the facts as described by the questioner here, John, namely that it's not uncommon for loan applicants, businesses, to exaggerate the value of their assets in order to make their application look pretty. That's not uncommon. That in the case at hand, since the banks know that it's not uncommon, here the economist in me kicks in, they take it into account and already discount the application, allowing for the possibility that it might be exaggerated, and do their own vetting, and then they make a loan, and then after the fact assessment, the loans were repaid with interest. The banks are happy with the transaction. There's no injured party here, apparently. And the historical fact that Letitia James, when running for the office that she now occupies, campaigned on a promise to use her office to get Trump, as I understand it, makes this look like a very selective prosecution. Now, you say Trump is uniquely evil. I'm going to not
bad word. I shouldn't have said that. But I think he is uniquely incompetent and a uniquely bad influence on swayable minds, especially given the nature of social media these days. That's what I think. I don't think he's evil. I think he's too stupid to be evil, but he is a unique problem.
Okay. Again, I'm not going to rise to debate. Trump is too stupid to be evil. It's just that he's got a lock on the Republican nomination. And the only reason we're having this conversation is because he just might win the election and the polls show him ahead, but he's uniquely stupid and uniquely evil. Okay. So I'm going to just register my disagreement with that sentiment without going further. But I do want to say, even if I were to take the premise of your objection on its face, that he's uniquely incompetent and evil, I would still object to short-circuiting the voters with made-up criminal charges to try to disqualify him in the absence of an election. And you tip your hand a little bit when you say people are easily swayed by his P.T. Barnum hokum, because you're saying, I don't trust the voters. They're idiots just like he is. They're swayed by this BS. Let me see if I can keep him off the ballot or somehow otherwise disqualify him and not give them the opportunity to choose him. I think that's horrible. Horrible. Who made you the arbiter? You, of course, I refer to the class of people who hold.
No, I'm representing a way of thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. The arbiter about what's good and bad for the country, that it should preempt elections, man. That's horrible.
No, it isn't. And I take your point, but this is different because we still don't quite know how to handle this only 20-year-old social media. He's not just Barnum. Barnum couldn't do what Trump can do. I mean, he's uniquely incurious and incompetent and megalomaniacal, but then is capable of having his hands on the levers of power to an extent that person couldn't have before roughly the year 2000. It's a unique circumstance. Now, I know that history is full of people who thought that, well, it's different this time, and so we have to. But I can't see beyond it. I'm sorry. I have certain limitations. That motherfucker, talk about motherfuckers, he should not be president again. It's a crisis. And so I'm willing to
go and vote for
egg.
him, but don't keep the other guy from voting for him. I'm fine. If you're right, you should be able to persuade a majority of the voters that you're right. That's why we have elections.
But it doesn't.
That's why it's a democracy.
It doesn't work that way with social media the way it is, though. Persuasion doesn't work.
Social media justifies short-circuiting the democratic institutions in order to keep the voters from hurting themselves because they've all been hypnotized by a Svengali.
I don't know if I'm going to call it short-circuiting, but these cases, Stormy Daniels, I say, yeah, good. Make life difficult for him. Tie up his ankles a little bit. Tie his shoelaces together. Because him running the country again would be an international catastrophe. And you know it.
Well, if that's so true, it shouldn't be hard to win the election. I mean, look who's running the country now. His name is Joe Biden. He's not a catastrophe.
He's not a catastrophe. And actually, he's done some great things. As you know as well. It's just that
So did Trump. His administration was not a failure. He, you could say, had done some good too. And a lot of people are saying, including Jamie Dimon over there in Davos the other day, to that effect.
Yeah, but did Trump do it on purpose, or did it just happen to be that way while he was in? A stop clock is
right twice a day to finish his sentence. Let's move on. John and I disagree about whether or not Trump should be prevented from being elected by lawfare. I'm right. John is wrong, but that's okay. All right, John, you might like it because here's a question that puts me on the hot seat.